Hey, what's up? This is Chill from Team Liquid. This is another Zerg strategic commentary. This is Zerg versus Protoss on Othello. If you heard the first commentary in the series, which is on Python, you will remember, hopefully, that I wanted to talk about drone placement on minerals. Something that's really important, which a lot of actually higher level people don't seem to realize, is that there's a lot of variation between which minerals mine faster. Someone who comes to mind, I love the guy, but he's terrible for doing this, is Artosis. If you watch Artosis split, he typically splits to the farthest mineral patches. If you watch someone like Draco split, he always splits to the fastest, and you can see it. If you go and watch TSL VODs, specifically Draco against Genfei, you'll see that his minerals come in quicker and his probes always are building quicker because he's going to the fastest patches. So here's my little bit of advice. How am I going to explain this? The ones that are... Okay, there's a plane of mining. In this situation, it's left and right. Perpendicular to that plane, so up and down, whichever ones are closer, up and down... Alright, this isn't going to work. I split to the four that are horizontal right at the start. If the minerals are vertical, I would split to those four. Then I look for the ones that are closest in that left-right plane. So in this example, it would be the bottom left one, and then after that, it would be there's one at the top right, and then there's one at the bottom right. Just, I mean, the advice I'm going to give you, that was pretty much useless, but take a look at which ones mine faster. And I mean, if you go to the one that mines, 100 minerals in 20 seconds as opposed to 20.5 or whatever, it's not going to be that big a deal. So, but your first four should go to close mineral patches. Don't be splitting to the corners, is what I'm saying. And when you Maynard your 3 or 4 drones, send them to the quick mining patches, not the far ones. So, with that being said, that spawning pool placement, I don't know why it goes there, but that's what the pro gamers do, so that's what I do. So I'm sure it speeds up mining because there's the 2 drones that go up there, they really have a lot of problems, so I think that pool probably helps it out. So I saw his probe go to top right, so I know that given that he's not at top right, that he's going to be at top left, so that's where I'm going to send my overlords and my first 6 Zerglings. And of course, the hatchery going down, I believe it was 12 or 13, just like the last game, and now this one comes down at 14. Given this is Othello, it's a little bit closer here, so I can put it down at the proper timing for 14. Now, this is going to be a variant on the so-called easy mode build. I'm going to send in my Zerglings here, make sure he's honest, that he's put down 2 cannons. He has. The sacrifice of 2 Zerglings is not really that big a deal, just to make sure he's being honest. So now, the way this build follows up is at around 16 or 15, you make gas. This is indicative of a Zerg vs Terran build, which has kind of been tailored a little bit differently to Zerg vs Protoss. And this is particularly strong on maps like Andromeda and Bluestorm. But I'm using it here on Othello. I mean, it's strong on all maps, really. It's just like a standard opening. But I would really, really, really give this a try on those 2 maps. So now I'm going to be mining gas here. I'm sending the slow mining drones to mine the gas. So those are the top patches. Just something to think about there. And again, as I said, majoring those 3 drones, I'm going to send them to quicker patches. So now I've got 3 hatcheries, I've got gas coming. I'm going to make an overlord. Now I see his probe slip by, so I'm going to retreat those Zerglings to come back. And then you make a lair. So it's 3 hatch lair, and the lair comes really quickly. And the goal here is to get a Spire. And you have 2 options with that Spire. If you decide he's a Stargate opening, you just make Scourge to control him, and pump drones. If you decide he's +1, the mutas come out in time, and you can defend his zealots very easily. So a very powerful build. The reason it's so strong on Andromeda and Bluestorm is because of how popular Stargate openings are on those maps. So now I'm just going to pump drones here. He's giving me no reason not to. Again, something you should practice is Zerglings versus probe control. Really, if I let his probe come in, he's going to know I'm doing this build exactly. But, I mean, he might have an idea it's coming. given that he sees how few drones I have at the expansion, but he can't confirm it. So now the third hatchery comes whenever you have 300 minerals. In this case, it's at 27. Sometimes it'll come later if your overlords are better timing. Sometimes it'll come at 30, 25, doesn't really matter, just get it down. And then the lair is going to come up, and I'm going to go right into Spire. Excuse me. So it's a 4 hatchery Spire at this point. That Spire placement over there really speeds up the gas. When used in conjunction with the spawning pool placement as well, it speeds up the top 2 minerals, so something you should take a look at. It's really annoying to place, but something you should do. And you can see I've made a huge mistake here. My second overlord is sitting somewhere around 9 o'clock for whatever reason. That's a huge mistake, because now I can't confirm whether he's +1 zealot rushing or if it's going to be some sort of Spire opening. So how I'm going to make this decision is based on how many zealots he has and based on if his forge is spinning. I believe his forge is spinning, which made me think it was +1 rush. And that's why I started saving larvae for 9 mutas. But really, I think he ended up opening Stargate. It was just a strange opening. So a huge mistake there. I mean, Zerg without scouting is really difficult. So something, yeah, that really should have been taken care of. And my natural gas was a little late because I was pretty sure he was going to go Spire opening. So if he, or excuse me, Stargate opening. If he's going Stargate opening, you don't need as much gas, because you're not going to make mutas. You're just going to make Scourge and pump drones. But so now I see the Corsair comes in, it confirms it. So now instead of saving up my larvae, I can turn them all into drones, make a few Scourge here, and take out that Corsair. And then I can decide whether or not he's going to be making a ton of Corsairs in a Bisu style opening, or doing an opening similar to what we saw last game, where he's just going to make a Corsair, a Dark Templar to control my 4th base, and then come out with Templar. So just pumping drones here, and getting a Sunken Colony up just in case he comes in with a few harassing zealots. Getting my Overlord speed, and now I'm going to be making an Evolution Chamber and a Hydralisk Den. Some people will follow this up with Hydralisk speed and range. I sometimes do that. I'm not very good with Hydralisk Micro. I think Lurkers are easier for the novice player, but I think that's something you want to take a look at if you've opened Mutalisk, because obviously you're going to force some Archons. Hydralisk kill Archons very easily, and you can follow the logic. I think in situations like this, where he's only made a single Corsair or 2, and now he's following up with Templar and Zealots, that's when the Lurkers are really going to show their power. So I've got so many drones here that I can afford to make a lot of hatcheries. I'm actually hesitant to make more hatcheries, even though I can afford it, just because I'm not used to having this much income, given how passive he was in the early game. So I'm going to follow up, just get my scouting out, make sure he's not taking his 3rd base. Once the Lurkers come, get a few Hydralisks coming out, and as soon as that Overlord speed comes out, you're going to see the Overlord spread across the map, just to take a look at what he's doing here. And again, I've lost track of his army, so I'm going to just move in to see, is his army sitting at his natural, or where is it? Did it sneak around at 9 o'clock and I didn't see it? Really got to keep an eye on that, because if Templar and Zealots suddenly come marching in, I'm pretty much screwed. So given that there's 3 Zealots there, I'm going to assume that his army is hiding at his natural, but still the Overlords spread around just to make sure. And he's not taking his 3rd base yet, so I'm not taking my 4th base yet. I've had a lot of problems overextending myself against Protoss. They roll out with that sort of Noonie build with a lot of Dragoons and High Templar, and it's very difficult to defend even if you have Lurkers. The Storm just cuts you up. So these days I like staying at 3 bases against 2 bases. And until he's made a look like he wants to get aggressive, which is a telltale sign that he also wants to take his 3rd base, at which point I'll take my 4th base. And just moving towards Hive. I mean, he hasn't really given me a reason not to, so I'm going to follow this up with Adrenaline's drop and Ultralisk as usual. Now the question here in Othello is, which base do you want to take in cross positions? Do you want to take this sort of 330 base, or do you want to take the one at 6? My thinking was that the 331 is kind of farther from him. He's got to come through that little choke, whereas at 6 o'clock I've got to go through the little choke. So that's the reason I took 330 at this point. But in the end, I'm going to end up taking both. I just took 330 at this point first because it seems safer. And again, bad scouting on my part. I should be scouting bottom left because obviously there could be something going on there. Wink, wink. I can see he's taking his third base now, setting up cannons. So he's probably going to be either moving out or playing defensively. I see nothing indicating he's moving out, so I'm going to take 6 o'clock at this point and just get everything set up for late game ultra lane. I really have no intention of doing anything with this army. It's just keeping it in flanking position and just keeping it out of the main so I don't get attacked all at one point. It's a really slow-paced defensive game. There's not too much to say. I'm just keeping my upgrades going, keeping my macro going, keeping my minerals low. Something I should have had was a lot more Scourge, and unfortunately I realized it like a second too late. I believe a Templar drop is going to come at this point, so I had a good Overlord spread. His shuttle actually flew right by 6 o'clock. I just missed it on the mini-map, so you know, good job on him. A bit of a mistake there, and as you can see, the Scourge are going to come out, so they were just you know, like a few seconds too late. But you should always have, you know, 6 Scourge spread around, just looking for dropships. It's such a simple and cost-effective thing to do. There's really no reason not to. And again, who's going to make the first move into non-neutral territory? So 6 o'clock is very difficult for him to attack. 3:30 is difficult for him to attack. But who's going to make the first step into grabbing a fourth gas? I really don't like doing it until his army's moving out, so I can get a sense of where he's moving, where I should be counter-maneuvering. It's really not in my style to push out first. I prefer to react to what other players are doing. So I can see he's pushing out towards 3:30. I'm going to get my army together, get everything grouped up, and I should be sending something up to just keep scouting his army. I don't see anything moving in that direction at this point. Yeah, so this army in the center was just moving up to set up a flank. It's unfortunate I ran into his reinforcements, gave my position away, but you know, there's no intention of attacking or countering with that. It's just to get, you know, 4 control groups in the center, so when he attacks your setup army, you can flank with the other army. It's a real simple way to get an effective flank done. And again, I mean, you can be more aggressive if you want. You can set the pace, attacking and flanking and dropping, but my style is more just wait for him to make the mistake, really. And I think this works very well on lower levels and very poorly on higher levels, because I think lower level players are very poor at mechanics, getting their flanking up, getting all their units attacking at the same time, so the player defends typically has an advantage, whereas higher level players are better at, you know, dropping at multiple points, multitasking, setting the pace, whereas the defending player might miss all that all the multitasking. So here he comes attacking. You know, it was a reasonable attack, but I've got my flank set up. I'm not really too worried about scourging the overlords in this situation. It's not like the game where I'm going to be setting up a Zergling or a lurker and Zergling contain. So I mean, that went fairly decently. I mean, I'm still alive. You got a lot of good storms out, but I think we came out reasonably even in that point, and now I feel comfortable to set up all my bases with drones and move towards, move out of the neutral ground, really. It should have drop coming at this point. No, it wasn't coming, so it should be coming fairly soon, because that's something that's necessary to crack once Protoss gets all those bases set up. Templar and cannons, they become impossible to crack, and really, as I said in the last game, if you've watched it, the 2 ways to do it are defilers and drop. And really, drop is the simpler way of doing it. Not that there's anything wrong with defilers, you should certainly learn to use them. But I think in a game like this, where it's kind of turned into a slow-paced macro war, I don't really need defilers. I can just go straight into archers. So I can see, you know, terrible scouting. What a mistake. He's got bottom left set up with cannons, and for sure there's Templar down there. So I'm setting up my army to see if I can run in and maybe do some damage, but he's got a lot of Templar here and Archons, and that was really just a folly mistake, and those Zerglings moving in aren't going to be able to do too much. And now I believe he should be able to kill 6 o'clock. So really a big mistake there. It teaches you the value of keeping your army together, if nothing else, because I ran in one at a time there in the line and just got cut up by Sonic Storm. The Lurkers weren't really supporting too much, and the Zerglings went in. I don't even think I'll be able to tear down this Nexus, but even if I do, it's not really that much of an issue. It's not a big victory for me, because I've traded so much to accomplish this that I've given up map control, and you can just take it again. So the one thing I should be getting from this is I should be able to expand up the right side of the map. So that's a little bit of a victory for me. That's something that should be happening right now. Because as I'm, it's standard play. This is really one of the most basic maneuvers in StarCraft. You attack while you expand, and you attack the area across the map from where you're going to expand. So if I'm attacking at, of course, if I'm attacking at bottom left, I'm going to be expanding to top right. Really, basic, a basic idea there that should be understood by all here. Yeah, looks like he's setting bottom left up again and coming into my 6 o'clock. This isn't too much of a deal to lose. So something you should get from this battle is that there comes a time when you need to stop, group everything up, and re-engage. I have so many units here that I thought I could just, this is like such a Protoss mentality. I'll just throw these units in, they'll be good. But like, look at all of the Zerglings getting jammed up. They're running in one at a time, and just getting cut up by these 2 Archons in front. So really, that's something where if I actually took the time to send those units in properly, they would have defended that base. As a result, oh god, look at that. It's just terrible. So, if you've got to give up a base not to give up map control, or let me rephrase that, if you've got to give up a base to avoid giving up map control, maybe you should think about doing it. And if you've got to defend, you want to group up and defend at the last possible moment. You don't want to be sending in all your units one by one like that, because it's just a recipe for disaster, really. So I'm going to try to keep up with my upgrades. The Hive carapace is very expensive, so I mean, trying my best there, because I've only been on 3 gas for a while here. So how is this game going to play out now that he's controlled bottom left? I'm going to assume he's going to take the bottom left main at some point, which I'm going to kill with drops, obviously. And I'm going to just basically look to defend. I've got that top right. When it ran in there bit by bit, exactly what I said not to do, and now look at what happens when he does it. So that was the kind of mistake I need exactly to regain map control. And now I can set up top right, just pump a ton of drones and set up some sort of focused defense at the 3rd expansion at top right, and that'll defend all the bases. And then I can look to take it to the late game, where it's going to end with defiler play and drop play. So really, had he not made that mistake at top right, 3rd natural, where he just sacrificed his army for basically nothing, it would be a very different game. So I think I should probably move in here, try to crack bottom left. Usually I would wait for some sort of worker support or not defiler support or drops, but I've got enough here that I can just run in, crack it, stop him from getting a 4th gas, which is a big deal in Zerg vs Protoss. Once they get to that 3-4 gas range, it becomes very, very hard to beat a Protoss. If you want to set up overarching themes for the Zerg vs Protoss game, the first one is don't let them get a 3rd gas, and the second one is don't let them get a 4th gas, and another one is don't let them get ahead of you in upgrades. So I can't really stop him from getting a 3rd base on Othello just because of the terrain of the map, but I can stop him from getting his 4th base, which I got luckier. So it's a little bit of a different situation now, because when I said before I'm trading my army to kill that Nexus, he can just rebuild it. It's not the same situation here, because I'm trading it to buy time, to buy tempo at the top left, to get my defense set up, to get my economy set up. And I didn't trade my entire army in that attack. I only sent in, I believe it was 5 Ultralisks to draw cannon and Templar fire, and the rest were Zerglings, which are essentially free. So whereas the first situation was a bit of a mistake, this situation was a lot more sound in the decision making. So where do we stand? My top right is very undefended. Looks like he could crack that, but it looks like he's going to focus on taking bottom left again. So I don't know if had he attacked top right with everything, I may have had to give it up and revert back to give up that entire area. So stop him from getting bottom left, give up top right, where that would leave us at 4 base Zerg against 3 base Protoss. Not a bad situation to be in, really. But by playing defensive here, he's getting 1 base, but he's giving me 3. So a really big mistake here, I believe. And as I say, you just add sunken colonies at that third natural, and really it just creates this wall of consolidated defense, and it's really hard to break through. I keep checking to see if drop is coming. It's going to be coming eventually, because that's one of the finishers. He's obviously dropping on his mains as he starts to take them. And again, you can't do both. Like, as a Protoss player, you can't try to expand and defend it and be aggressive like this. You have to realize you got to do one or the other. So this is a big mistake he's done. He's tried to do both. And here's the end result. His timing to attack was before I got those extra units and before I got the sunken colonies up. Now this is just a disaster, and that's going to seal the game. So this is the point probably where you're going to see drop coming. Once I realize, okay, I'm way ahead, now I'm going to set up my infrastructure. So I'm just going to make a lot of sunken colonies. I mean, as I keep saying, if you want to be an aggressive player, that's fine. That's a different style. But especially on ladders or meaningful games, if you will, I guess Icy Cup isn't that meaningful really, but there is a stat tracker, so it's got a little meaning to it. In games like that, I tend to always favor being overly safe. And even here, I move to crack his expansion, but I see his entire army coming down to defend that, so I'm not even going to bother. Just going to let him have it. When he goes to take the main, I'll drop on it. I'm not going to risk my entire army to take 1 base, especially when I've got 3 fresh ones set up. So drop still not coming. Should be coming eventually. Really, something you can take from this game is you should get drop a lot earlier. I think there's no reason to really get it any later than when you have all your Ultralisks upgrades done. It's really effective. I could be doing crackling drops on his main. I could be doing lurker drops at his natural at bottom left. There's just a myriad of things I could be doing here, as opposed to this kind of I'm forced into a passive macro game here, which I could still be passive while putting a little pressure on with drops, and after watching this, that's something that certainly should have been done. So that's something you can take away from the game. And again, as I say, when you're this far ahead, you want to play safe. Put like sunken colonies up at every base. Put a lot of sunkens at your third expansion, so you can get all that defended there, and get your Niduses up, get defilers, get drop, and then that's gonna be it. That's really all you need to do to secure a victory when you're ahead as Zerg. When it comes to it, really late in the game, when Protoss starts adding Reavers and Archons, that's when you may want to consider getting the Hydralisk upgrades and the Hydralisk range attack upgrade out of the evolution chamber. You don't even need to make Hydralisk. It's just nice to get that set up so that if he does come with 4, 6, 8 Reavers and 6, 8, 10 Archons, you have the option of quickly switching to Hydralisk, because those units are specifically designed to cut up Ultralisks. I don't know what's going on with this drone. It's being really annoying. You don't see that too often. But regardless, you're going to follow up with drop and going to follow up with defilers. If you still are unaware, defiler spells are for cracking cannons with Zerglings and for killing Archons with Ultralisks. They're not really that great at killing I mean, they still do something, Zerglings against Ultralisks, or Zerglings against Archons, but they're specifically used for Archons against Ultralisks. So you want to put them either on your own Ultralisk or on his Archons and look to surround them. That's really the play that's made with them. Now I can come in, kill this last base, and that's really going to be it for him. He's going to have to do some sort of last-ditch effort attack once he realizes I'm at 6 gas, 7 base, and he's just lost his 5th gas. So really just a small drop to shut that down, bring the entire army back. I'm again playing overly safe, but it's just my style. I'm max, so I'm going to throw down all sun colonies because we're coming up at the final battle. I don't want to throw the game away by not being overly safe here. I'm just getting my army together in a flanking position while keeping him distracted. I can drop up there, finish his expansion. That seals the game. Throw down more defense, more hatcheries. I'm max. I've got to spend that money somehow. And here comes the final battle. There's not much to say here. He just did not have enough units to really deal the kind of damage he needs to in this final battle. And I have defilers at this point, so the defilers are going to come in right at the end and clean that up. So the key themes for this game are you open up 9 pool or 12 hatch, get a 3rd hatchery, and then 16 gas. Go lair, get a spire right as soon as you can after a 4th hatchery, and then decide if he's +1 rush, save up 12 larvae or 9 larvae, whatever you can afford, get mutas to stop the zealots. If he's doing some sort of beast or corsair opening, make scourge as necessary, and pump drones. And give it a try. I think it's a really effective build, so thanks for watching.